For most of my life, I only knew my uncle through prison visits, phone calls, and stories. Despite the distance, I was always close to him. This is the story of my uncle, Kimble Trahan. In 1988, my uncle, Kimble Trahan, was convicted of manslaughter and armed robbery and sent to Louisiana State Penitentiary. After spending 30 years behind bars, he was released and forced to navigate life on the outside with little to no preparation, support services, or programs to help him succeed. Today, after a decade of freedom, he finds himself facing new legal troubles. Through the voices of those closest to him, this documentary explores the realities of life after prison and asks a difficult question. When someone has served their time, are they given the tools and support needed to successfully re enter society?
We lived in the projects, um, 3 bedroom. So you figure there were 6 boys in one room, 2 girls in the other, and then of course my mother, single parent, and it was hard. I mean, we were poor. We were the welfare kids. We were poor. It was very hard.
When Kimble got arrested and sent to prison, how did that affect you and your family?
You know what? If you would have asked me that like 20, 30 years ago, I would have been like, what do you think it was? But now, as I've matured and I thought about it, I'm like, that's a good question, because there's so many families out there who they don't have love for each other in the household growing up. But in our household, we loved each other, so it broke us. It broke us all, and we're still broken.
Yeah.
And, it's sad. Even now I want to cry just thinking about it. It's very hurtful.
Do you have any memories visiting him in prison?
Yeah, I do.
And what was that like?
I remember my first visit when we went visit him in Angola. I don't know if you're familiar with Angola. It's like the worst prison in the U.S. And we had to get on a bus for them to take us to the facility. And that freaked me out, right? And then inside I was so happy and just being the nice sister, being, positive for him. But on the way back on the bus, I just cried because it was such a hurtful environment to see him in, and I remember like you could take a picture with them and you have to stand against a wall. And I'm like, what is this? So it's really bad. It's, I don't know, that memory just stays with me.
After serving 30 years, did you feel that he received the real support when he was coming home?
From who, the system? Huh. No. I mean, they let him out. He had a probation officer. We never seen a probation officer. He stayed with my mom, and she tried to get the probation officer to get him mandated for therapy. Because how do you take a minor, because according to the U.S., anyone under 18 is a minor.
Yep.
So that means they need guidance. So you take a minor, you stick him in the prison system for 30 years. He gets out, he's not mandated to do any type of mental health, right? Nothing, no help. He's not taught how to do a checking account, how to go grocery shopping. 30 years, he was told what to do, when to do it, so he could not think for himself, besides how to fight in there to survive, right?
Yeah.
So they take him out of prison after 30 years and just say, here you go. Like, that's just a setup for failure.
So what do you wish people understood about Kimble besides the headlines?
That he wasn't born a criminal. He was born an innocent baby. And part of his mental health issues, the society, the way we were treated, the way we grew up so poor, like all of that played a part, unfortunately, in what happened to him, right? What he did. But people need to know that he wasn't born that way. So don't judge him by just one fraction. He served his time. He was held accountable for his actions. And they need to realize that. Like, try to find a way to help him, because there's so many Kimbles out there that need help, so many of them. And unfortunately, this Kimble is my brother, and I love him, and I really want him to get help. But I want everyone else's brother who's out there like that, and even sisters, to get help. They need help. You can't take someone from prison after 30 years. think about it. How much progression has there been in this world so far? Just
Oh,
in the
it's a
past
whole
10
new,
years,
yeah, it's a whole
right?
new world. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So,
and the way that AI is going, I mean,
oh,
just in the last year, it blows my mind. It's like, you know,
exactly.
I'm
So,
running in circles for AI. So I'm
yes,
thinking,
yes. I mean, imagine 30 years
yeah.
of it, you know, and you sticking someone out in the world and saying, there you go figure it out.
Do you feel, now this was Louisiana in the 80s, so it's a completely
Yes,
different world. Do you
yes.
feel that at 17 they tried him as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
that that was unfair? Or did
Absolutely.
you?
It really was. And unfortunately, because my family and I, we were up north,
Mm-hmm.
my parents spent over $100,000 trying to get him a lawyer, right? But they were scammed because the lawyers didn't really work for him. So he did not have great legal counsel. And I think if he had it, he still would have served time because he did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't have been as harsh. Because again, according to America, he's a minor,
Yeah.
right? So you got to think about Louisiana way back then.
Yes.
And they're already down south. We know they are more prejudiced than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So it could have gone better for him,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they would have seen, hey, this child does need some help mentally. So let's help him. While he's locked up, you could still provide him with some help, with services.
Yeah, I feel that way. I feel that anybody that, there's a lot of kids in the prison system that did horrible things at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that they should have a facility just for them.
Exactly.
Because they're
Yeah.
so young and they're still growing.
Right.
And now
Right.
you're put in a 15, 16, and then, he had mental illness, which back then nobody recognized.
Right.
It's not like
It
it is
wasn't
today.
addressed. Yeah.
Nope. And now you're putting them in prison systems with
Grown men.
grown men, serial killers, like
Yeah.
hardcore criminals.
Right.
And your brain's a 17-year-old.
Right. It's not even fully developed, but yet they have to grow up so quick. So I think the system is messed up. It's been messed up. It's still messed up. I mean, you think about, I'm not one to do politics, but you think about all these politicians and all the crooked things they have done, and yet they get away with it, you know, or they get to serve a few months. Like, help people who need help, which is our children, because they're our future. But when you take these kids who, they grew up with the system against them to begin with, and you just throw them away, like, what is that? We need to fix our system. We do.
What do you think happened that night with Kimble? Was he, because, it was so long ago, and you can try to Google it and there's like nothing, right? Because it was the 80s.
Right, right.
Do you think that whoever he was with, it was like influenced, or, he was only 17, I remember when I was 17, you're with your friends, you're doing what your friends are doing.
Well, I also know that he probably had alcohol in his system. He was 17.
Yeah.
So who provided him with that?
Right.
Right? So I think that they didn't look at the full picture, because like nowadays, at today's society, they will hold parents or whatever adult is around responsible for providing that minor with that alcohol.
Yes.
So I think that played a big part in it.
So do you have any last thoughts or anything you'd like to say?
Fix the system. Like, care about our children, the future of our country. Like, care. People need to just care. They need to open their eyes and look at what's happening and care. Because it's not just black kids, it's children of all races, all ages, right? All minors we're talking about.
Yes.
Maybe if we were providing them with better choices as they're growing up, there wouldn't be so many of them going the wrong way.
Right.
We need to open our eyes and work on our country.
One of the people who came to know Kimble after his release was his girlfriend, Tamara. Through their relationship, she witnessed the challenges, struggles, and the lasting effect of decades spent behind bars.
Can you tell us who um, Kimble was as a person, and when you what first stood out about him?
hmm He is a very personable individual. He is loving. He is funny. Oh my God, so funny. He loves to cook. He is quite creative. I often would ask him, "How did you learn to do this?"
And how did you first meet him?
He hit my car by accident at a Home Depot parking lot, and my daughter had been leaned back in the car, and I was inside Home Depot, and she gave me a call and said, "There's a tall guy, two guys walking in. Mom, they just hit your car." And I said, "What do you mean hit my car?" She said, "What?" The big guy, which was Kimble, swung the car door open and dented the driver's side of your door. I don't think you had any marks on there, but there's marks there now. Get him, Mom. And I'm like going through Home Depot, and I see this tall guy, and I'm a northerner. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm from New York. I
Yeah.
walked straight up to him and said to him that I said, I said, "Sir, did you just hit my car?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And he's like looking down at me, and I'm like, "I have my daughter on the phone, and she said it was you that hit my car." And he just stared at me for like 60 seconds. And then I said, put my hand on my hip, "What are you going to do about it?" He said, "Come on, let's go take a look." And we went back to the parking lot, and we stood out there for a whole hour. He's looking at my car and said, "You know what? I could get this fixed for you." While my daughter's like, "Let's just call the cops, Mom. We don't need to go back and forth." And I said, "No, it's okay." He said, "Well, let me give you my phone number." And I said, "Is this your real phone number?" He said, "Yeah, it is." And I called him, and he actually hooked me up with someone from a dealership that actually gave me the matching paint and everything for my car. The thing is, when I say that he was persistent, he kept calling to see if I needed more help with anything. And I'm like, "Dude, no, click, and I'm like, get a life. Why is this?" I'm like, "We resolved the accident, leave me alone." So that was the start of the persistence. And it went on from there, and how I eventually, I think maybe after a month or two, I'm going to say 2 months, I said, "Okay, I'll go out with you for a drink." I said, "You seem like a decent enough guy," which he did,
Hmm.
so yeah, that was a fun time.
What were the biggest challenges he faced after being released? Because he was in prison for 30 years.
Oh, a little over 32 years,
Oh,
actually.
13 to
hmm
you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the biggest challenge is? I mean, I can just
Mhm.
imagine the whole world
Adjusting.
has
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah. Cell phones,
Yeah, yeah,
adjusting,
yeah,
social media,
yeah.
um, fitting in with his peers. He didn't fit in well with people in his age group. He
Hmm.
had a hard time with that. Keeping work, stable work. It didn't make sense to me that he could not keep a job because he's very good at what he does, whatever it is. You show him, he figures it out. He can figure it out, and he got it. But he had a hard time dealing with supervisors, and I realized that's coming from prison yet again. And I explained to him, I said, "We all have rules. I have rules. My supervisor
Yeah.
gives me instructions. I do them. You know, uh, Most of the time they're not disrespectful, but for him, he would hear disrespect, and they're not
Mm,
speaking to him like a man. And you know, "Oh,
right.
I'm doing more work than the other person." And I said, "That's like that a lot. It's like that in my job.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
and it's
yeah.
always feeling like someone's doing more than the other." But those were big challenges for him, staying employed. And he had this thing with wanting to make a certain amount of money all the time. Uh, I said, even if you're a janitor, you're employed, and
Yep.
things, people have to start from somewhere. And I said, I have to remind you that you've not been home a very long time. I said, I didn't just arrive at the position that I'm in. I said, it came with
Exactly.
time. But I guess when you've lost a lot of time, he found himself trying to play catch up. And he couldn't understand. And still, I believe he struggles with you can't make up the time that is gone. You have now.
Hmm.
You have now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are the biggest shot. And being obedient to himself, having some self control. The world was a lot for him coming home. And he just
Yeah.
went, ooh.
Do you feel like society gave him a real chance to rebuild his life after prison?
I would say sus- the people that cared about him, they did. However, the people that cared about him, and I would say his ex wife, myself, even his siblings, we were not equipped wholeheartedly with what he truly needed. Uh,
Hmm.
he definitely needed, in conjunction, continuous therapy. Uh, the choices that was given to him should not have been. He should have been automatically enrolled into a program, to a reentry program. That shouldn't have been a choice given to him, and it was given to him, and he declined. It should not have been given to him at all. Um,
Right.
I realize now he still needs help with reentry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's learned.
Looking back now, were there signs that Kimball's mental health struggles that you noticed at the time but didn't fully understand them?
So a lot of times there was a lot of angry moments. He wouldn't talk, or he would just disappear. One of the biggest things I remember, um, I don't know what he was upset about, and I can't recall, but he punched a hole in the wall. And I was kind of like stepped back, and he was hollering and he was crying and he threw himself on the floor. And I said, this is not a person struggling with a breakup of a marriage. This is something else. But the crying was so heartfelt. I said, well, maybe just more things I just don't understand. It was other private things, maybe him and his ex-wife had, or whatever. Um, yeah, there were a lot of things that started to appear,
Hmm.
and I did dismiss them, or made up an excuse for them. But looking back now, that it was all signs of it.
How do you think prison affected his mental and emotional well being over the years?
He's totally disconnected. He's connected till he's not disconnected. The irrational thinking. I would say this, and I said this before. As a teenager, you're still not fully developed, right? You were
Yeah.
already a rambunctious individual. So here you go, finishing your most impressionable years in prison amongst murderers, rapists, um, con artists, you name it. And
Right.
he has been able to, in the most profound way, embrace all of those personalities, all those life lessons that he learned in prison, and it can make a monster, if that makes sense, because what we learned outside of prison weren't all of these things. We are generally not raised or spoken to by rapists and murderers, and never mind officers, correction officers, and I could only imagine
Yes.
how they would have spoken to those men in prison. And it helped. He learned how to disconnect very quickly. Like, well, I just move on to the next. We don't resolve anything. I just move on to something else. And
Mhm.
it taught him a lot of things that are not really going on in real time in the outside world, you know. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Did you feel that Kimball received any mental health support or treatment needed while he was incarcerated?
Not at all. Not at all. It's funny to me that prosecutors will say, well, they could get this type of help in prison. That's not true. You have hundreds of men suffering in there. Some maybe not, Some, oh, a whole lot. You honestly think that the prison is going to waste their money to go and help individuals with mental illness that have committed a crime? They don't care. They don't care.
No.
They're not going to do that. They don't have the they have the resources, but they're choosing not to use the resources. But yet they will let these men out and give them choices that they are not able to make, and wait for them to recommit another crime or take a life, just so that they can ring them right back in and make more money off of them. They don't care about reform. They really don't.
His current legal situation, which we cannot speak about right now, but
Mhm.
how has that affected you personally and emotionally?
Yeah, I am suffering with some depression. I'm suffering with depression.
Hmm.
Um, I'm dealing with the fact that I love someone who is not the person, not the same person I fell in love with. There are multiple
Hmm.
people. To hear him on the phone is one thing, but to know who he is another. And I have to keep that in mind. And I struggle with that because who I am speaking with on the phone is not actually who he is inside. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge because I know other things that others will never know, and that's that intimate side,
Yeah.
of the things that he suffered with and he and I discussed, you know. The one thing he and I have agreed on is that you have to get better because this is not what I would want for you. And I'm sure definitely that's not what he want for himself nor his family. And it has hurt everyone involved, not just he and I. We're just in the center of it, but his family, my family. And it's been a very hard time getting life to restart again for me because it's an imbalance right now. So I'm struggling with a lot of things. And he thinks I'm stronger than I am. But I'm just like, oh, well, it's not true. But I it's not been easy. I have a great support system though, and I know how important that is, and that's why I am also a support system for him because it is needed. A, a human needs that in time of struggle, as odd as it would be, but I don't feel it's right to just abandon a person when I know what the core problem is.
Think now that he's getting the help that he needs?
Not fully, not fully.
No.
He's getting his medication, but he's not getting other parts of it that he needs as far as the ongoing therapy at this time. And that's because of incarceration. And that's
Hmm.
another thing people don't know. You know, even though this is like a county jail, they don't have therapists that go into those jails and speak with these individuals. And this is a smaller scale. And
Right.
so, if they're not speaking to them in the county jail, we already know they're not going to speak to them in these larger prisons. But they will give them many pills. They love giving the pills out to them, but don't go and manage them. And hey, how is your depression doing? How are you feeling here? No one is truly speaking and sitting down with them, and that's what, and medication needs to go in conjunction with therapy. Just like if I have blood pressure, I go in conjunction with my primary care physician. So
Yes.
it's simple as that,
And
but that's not happening.
did they diagnose him correctly, or you feel that he still hasn't been fully diagnosed correctly to?
I'm going to be very honest with you. They diagnosed him enough based off how he expressed how he was feeling. But only a licensed therapist can tell him, okay, you still having these nightmares, lack of sleep, and well, what are we doing? They can't even give him exercises to do to help alleviate some of these symptoms that he is having mentally. So I don't know. It's just a lot is being missed.
Or anything you want the audience to know?
You know, Mental illness is very real, and anyone who has had firsthand experience with it, especially personally, would understand uh, all that it in details. It's not an easy ride. It's a lot of tears, a lot of sleepless nights. Um, to continue to stay strong, continue to be prayerful, but to understand that at times, sometimes it can be so daunting that it can affect us. And we're here, right? We're on the
Mm-hmm.
other side of the mental illness. And be give yourself some grace, because sometimes we have to step away and recharge, because dealing with someone with that is a challenge and a heavy cross to bear.
Yes.
So definitely give yourself some grace, and arm yourself with education. Arm yourself with
Yeah.
education, because that is key, and as well as a support system, even if it's something online where other people are discussing their dealings with their loved one and mental illness.
Kimble's story is just one story, but it's not a unique one. Across this country, thousands of people leave prison every year and return to a world that has changed without them. Many face barriers to employment, housing, and rebuilding relationships. Others struggle with untreated mental health challenges that often go unnoticed. They are expected to rebuild their lives, find work, reconnect with family, and avoid the mistakes of their past. Today, Kimble's journey continues as he faces new legal challenges, another reminder that the road home is often more complicated than many realize. His story is a reminder that rebuilding a life takes more than freedom. It takes support, opportunity, and a chance to move forward.